What's up, guys? We're doing shoulders today. It's a deload week for me, which might not sound exciting, but I really want to get some of these deload weeks in. I'm going to try to fit it in. Next time we'll maybe do a chest and back on a deload week, something like that, because a lot of people don't give the deload enough attention. Like, we talk about it, but people don't want to show their deload week because it's not exciting when you're lifting big weights. But it's really important because that's when you're going to get a lot of your recovery, right? If we're just pushing hard, hard, hard all the time, your body starts to break down, your recovery starts to slow down, and you start to lose progress. So it's going to be different from person to person, what type of program you're on, how hard you train, your intensity level, volume, all that stuff. For me, I do 3 weeks hard and then I take a deload week. So 1 week a month, I'm taking the deload week. Other people might do 6 in 1, something like that. Like I said, it really depends on the person. I've just found for me, after that third week, or like in that third week, I'm starting to feel really tired. Going into the fourth week, like I'm just getting through my workouts. I don't have the same like excitement. I don't have the same drive. It's like I'm working hard, but I'm just getting through. You know what I'm saying? We throw that deload week in, and it's going to allow your body to recover. Let me do this first set. We'll talk a little bit more about it as we go. So we're starting with cable side laterals, getting a good stretch, really letting that arm pull across, feel the stretch here, and then reaching out. So with this, I don't want to say just going through the motions, but lack for a better term, that's kind of what we're doing, right? We want to do light, not lightweight. You still want to, feel like you're working. Like I can feel my shoulder doing stuff, but I'm not going to go to the point where, like, definitely not going to failure. I'm definitely not going to the point where I have to grind it out. That's 15 there. So the purpose of the deload week is to allow your central nervous system a break, right? So your nervous system, your brain, spinal cord, everything that controls your muscles, that's getting stressed all the time when you're training, regardless of what muscle group you're training. The central nervous system's always getting stressed. It's getting stressed from life, other shit like that. When that gets overloaded, right? So even if my shoulders are recovering, if my central nervous system is still fatigued, even though my muscles are recovered and could train, my central nervous system won't send the same signals to those muscles to make them function optimally like they could. So by taking this week where we're still in the gym, we're just not pushing it so much. We're getting some blood into the muscle, feed the muscle to recover and grow still. So that's the thing, is don't get mixed up. Even though we're training light, we're not going to failure or anything like that. We're still producing growth because our body's still in a state of recovery. If you're in a state of recovery, that's a state of growth. So people think, they don't want to take a deload week because it's light and not as fun, it's not as glamorous, but that's when you're actually getting really good growth. So even though you're going light, you're still growing. So next we're going to do a bent over. It's going to be like a lateral. I'll show you quick first. A lateral raise, I would typically say, is coming more out to the side. So instead of coming out like this, I'm going to do more of a pull up, right? So it looks like a row, but instead of pulling back towards my hips like this, where I would do a normal row to get my lats involved, I'm coming up here. So I like to think of this elbow on kind of like a curved axis. And you can see as I pull up like that, you can see that rear delt popping out. So that's exactly what we want to do. You just focus on those rear delts. So always want to get a good stretch. So that's even a little bit too light. So that's a good example. Like if you go too light where it just literally feels like you're not doing anything, you're going to have a hard time getting enough muscle activation to get any kind of blood in there and make any kind of real pump, recovery, progress, anything like that. So we don't want to stress it. We don't want to push it, but we do want to, we got to do a little bit of something. It definitely shouldn't be hard. All right. Now we'll do the front raise. Now, so I'm not paying as close attention to my reps. Mainly because for me, I've been doing this for so long that like with this, it's just not, you're not pushing yourself. So I'm going to where it like starts to feel hard and then stopping basically for the deload. So for me, I'm going by feel. But in terms of reps, if you haven't kind of developed that feeling yet, basically what I'd say is still do the same number of reps, right? So if you're doing 15 reps normally, you're still going to do 15 reps on your deload week. It's just going to be light and you're not going to push as much. So it's not, that's where people get mixed up a lot is they take a deload week, they go lighter, and because they're going lighter and they can do more reps, they'll do 20, 25, and they'll be pushing failure at like 25 reps with light weight, which is like okay because you're not pushing you're not putting the same type of stress with that heavy weight on, but you're still stressing your nervous system in a tough way, just differently by pushing to that failure. So with the deload, I would say leave at least 5 reps or more in the tank, which for me is really hard to do. Like it's really hard for me to hold back on these deload weeks and not like really push to that failure just because I like to train. It's how I like to train. So holding back is something I struggle with too, but it's important. So this one really focusing on getting a good stretch at the bottom and feeling that front delt release right here. And it's going to be a nice controlled squeeze. Another thing on these I like to think about is rather than lifting up, I think like I'm trying to reach forward and out. That's what really helps keep it in the delts, not as much in the traps. So right about there, it's starting to get tough. I'm starting to feel like a little bit of a burn, which for me is like, that's where you want to go because after that, that's where, the progress is and all that. So that's where I like to feel the burn. I like to feel the blood flow. I like to feel the pump, but not today, right? So that's where it's discipline. It's another type of discipline. Discipline is not just going to the gym consistently every day. Discipline is not just sticking to your diet. Discipline is also not going to the gym when you need to rest. It's not pushing through an injury and having that recovery. So there's different types of discipline. Your average people that are not, normal gym goers, they need to be disciplined just to fucking get here. Whereas those of us that are here consistently, it comes to a point where we need to be disciplined to take those days off or take those deload weeks, take those lighter days to get good recovery. That's pretty good. So with these shrugs, one thing I'm not going heavy number one because like I said we're deloading, but I don't go crazy heavy with my shrugs anyway. I mean I used to. I remember being like I was probably 23 and I was shrugging like 600 pounds or something like that. Not well, you know what I'm saying? So let's be clear about that. But I mean, I was getting movement with it. But the traps, they're a strong muscle, but you can get such a stretch. So what I like to do is I like to kind of almost slouch back is the way I think about it. So I kind of lean back into it, keep my chest down, and then I focus on really sliding those shoulder blades up my back like this, right? And kind of get that little bit of a pinch in. And the other big thing on shrugs, don't worry about your elbows so much. So many people shoot themselves in the foot because they try to keep straight arms and they think if they're getting any kind of pull with their elbow or any kind of bend in their elbow at all, that it's taking away from the shrugs, and it's not, because like your body is fluid, right? So to get that full squeeze, your elbows need to bend. Do the movement, right? Do the shrug, but more than anything, just focus on how that trap actually moves. We go right into our next set. Rest periods, I keep relatively short on the deload. I'm probably gonna be a little bit longer than I typically would because I'm talking so much to you guys. Because it's not super strenuous, like I don't need a whole lot of break. Another thing you can use these deload weeks for, because you're training lighter, you're not pushing as much, is you can really kind of work on that mind muscle connection and feeling the way your muscle squeezes, right? So when I'm doing this, not, I'm not really going slower, but I'm not moving quite as explosively. I'm just kind of taking my arm through that movement. So in my mind, I can really focus on feeling how my shoulder actually moves, feeling how that bone rotates in the socket, feeling how the muscle pulls on the bone in order to make it do that. And so you're gonna develop a lot more conscious connection with your muscle through these deload workouts. So then when you go back to your, your regular workouts, you can push it a lot harder and have a better connection. So this is the second set. If you've been following my workouts for a little while, I typically do a warm-up set on the first exercise and then 2 working sets. On this, like, there's not really a point of a warm-up set when we're doing a deload because they're pretty much all the same, right? My warm-up is about all I'm gonna really go for today. So we're just doing the 2 sets, get some blood in the muscle, get some movement, a little bit of stimulation, and that's it. Nothing crazy. I'll tell you, if I'd say that there's one thing that I wish I could have done differently, like towards the beginning in my training, that would have made me progress a lot farther than what I have, it would be taking these deload weeks and prioritizing recovery. That's something that I didn't do for a long time because I like a lot of people. I wanted to keep pushing. I wanted to be the guy that outworked everybody, or I'd be making good progress, and I would feel like I don't want to take that week off or that slow week because I'm progressing. I want to keep progressing, but that would always lead to burnout, fatigue, loss of appetite, injuries, like a lot of different things that would hold me back. So if I'd been smarter when I was younger to take these deload weeks and understand that, like, if you're just looking at that 4, like for me, the 3 and the 1, if you're just looking at that 4 weeks and you're like only training 3 weeks and then you take a week like slow, how are you gonna make progress? Well, if you expand that out over 6 months and a year, that's not that much, right? Like and the progress that you gain from that far outweighs anything that you lose, because you don't actually lose. But even if you think that you do, the progress that you make by being recovered all the time is going to far exceed any kind of additional progress you would have made by that 1 week that you tried to push. But then it's not just 1 week, because then you're going hard again and then you skip the next one. So you think you're just, I don't need this 1 week, but then it adds up to being fucking 20 weeks of you overdoing it. And now you're hurt or you're not making it progress. It just doesn't work. That being said, let's do this last set of shrugs. Really let those knuckles reach towards the floor and feel that stretch. That's a lot of things a lot of people do is they just go to here. You can go so much lower if you just relax into it a little bit. One other point I'll make on these. A big thing that you don't want to do, it's okay to bend the elbows. Don't do this. This is what I see a lot of people do, is that when they shrug, their chest comes up, and all you're doing is you're just arching your back and you're taking your traps out of it, right? Because gravity is up and down. So when I'm here and my arms are straight up and down, now my traps are going straight up with gravity. When I come like this, now my traps are pointed back, so they can't squeeze as well, number one. But number two, you're not going against gravity anymore. So by lifting your chest and trying to get an extra squeeze or get that weight up higher, you're actually taking it out of the movement. So you're doing completely the wrong thing. All right, next we're gonna do for our press, we're gonna do the Viking press here, which is fun. This one I like to do it on my deload week. I'll do it other times as well. But it's just a not hard for the exercise, but like the setup and everything for it is tough to go heavy. So on like my bigger weeks when I'm pushing a weight, it's not something I typically choose, but today I love to do it. So we're gonna do this one first. So important thing with this is we wanna brace. We wanna make sure we keep the core tight and the hips underneath and we're not arching that back. So I kind of squat down into it, push up. Tuck the elbows at the bottom and we're gonna flare out as we press. All right, now we're gonna come over here. It's gonna be kind of like an upright row, but we're gonna be kind of slid back a little bit more. So we're pulling back to hit the rear delts. So slide back here. I like to kind of keep the hands open when I'm working with this strap. You can do this with like the typical rope. We're just gonna pull back kind of like a face pull. If you have an option to this strap, I like this because you need to keep the hands open and it really takes like the grip out of it. So you're gonna really focus on just squeezing those rear delts to pull the arms. So same thing like we talked about before, I'm keeping my chest down and I'm not getting this pop at the top. We don't wanna pop like this or it takes the delts out of it. So keep that chest down, think elbows back. Don't think shoulders back because the shoulder is the thing that's doing the moving. So if you're trying to pull your shoulder back, you're trying to move the thing that's moving the thing. So keep the shoulders where they're at, elbows back. That's what we want to think about. We're not going to do a front raise or a front delt exercise on this because we get some front delts from the press. So we got press hitting the side delts and the front, rear delts here. And now we're going to do this kind of like bent over shrug on here. So we're just going to hang down and literally all I'm doing is squeezing my shoulder blades together. Don't overthink it. You're just pinching back. That's going to help develop those mid to lower traps between the shoulder blades. Now don't overdo this movement either because it's not, like you think about the space that your shoulder blades move, it's not a huge movement. So like you're not going to be moving that far. We'll rest. We'll do another set. Another thing on these deload weeks I should talk about is the nutrition side of things. Now, because you're taking, some extra rest, you're not training as hard, you're not burning as many calories, you want to think that you don't need to eat as much. That's not the case. Because again, you're still recovering, or you're using protein to repair that muscle tissue. You're using carbs, fats as energy to fuel the recovery process, right? So that's the thing is like, you're not turning carbs, fat into muscle. That's not how that works. But the act of repairing tissue requires calories, it requires energy, which that's what that is. So you want to keep your nutrition the same. Like that's the thing, guys, is shit doesn't just change altogether because you're going lighter for this 1 week, right? You're still recovering, you're still training. It's all the same. You're just not doing as heavy weights that week. That's the only thing. So with that bar, there's a little bit of wobble here with the handle. So that's part of it. Is there's the stabilization here, there's a stabilization with the core. So a lot of stabilization going on with the Viking press, which is partially why it's not a crazy heavy exercise. All right. Go to 15 start. We'll see. Debating the weight to you. So we'll try 15. If that feels too light, we'll go 20. Again, we don't want to go too heavy. So this one, lean back on this pad a little bit. So it's going to put me at a slight incline, which is going to isolate a little bit more. And then I really like this pad. It's called the Infinity Arm from Exponent Edge, because you can lean right back against it. It sits right back into the small of the back. It just feels real comfortable on my back to do these laterals. So we're going to come down basically slightly behind the hips, so it gives me a little bit of a better stretch, and then reaching out to the side. That's one of those where it starts to get tough, and I want to keep going, but we gotta dial it back. Now, come over here. So this one is, we're gonna brace with the foot like this, and I'm gonna be pulling to right, like I'd say a little bit higher than where you would be coming for your bench press. Now, this one, I mean, you're gonna have to kind of play with it to find the exact angle for yourself. If you just want to find where you're just feeling those rear delts squeeze, and I'm not pulling too low. So if I was coming down here towards my stomach, now we're hitting lats. Now if I come too high, then that's making me have to like twist my shoulder in that socket, and it's not getting a good squeeze. So I want to find a nice smooth line where it feels really good on my shoulders. So good stretch forward, let those shoulder blades come out to the side, feel that stretch. And always think elbows back. Another big one on this is make sure those wrists stay straight. That's gonna help keep in the delts. If you bend your wrists like this, that's where you wanna pull down into the lats. So make sure those hands stay up, wrists stay straight. And with this, I'm really prioritizing thinking about the movement of my shoulder blades, because that's really what we're working on here. So this one I really like. I like it anyway. I'll do it heavier on my working weeks. But I really like it on these lighter weeks because it really helps like break up that stuck shoulder blade. Our shoulder blades get locked in a lot of times from all the heavy stuff that we do, squats, deadlifts, even bench press. Like a lot of the heavy movements we do, we lock those lats down, and you do that all the time. Those shoulder blades wind up getting stuck, and that's what leads to shoulder problems a lot of times. So stuff like this one really helps kind of break that up, stretch it out when we're going lighter, and don't have to worry about overstretching this exercise and injuring it. So like I said, I will do these heavier, let's say not heavy, but I do use it during the working weeks as well. But on a light week, it's particularly good to really focus on that stretch. Front raise here, which I did out of order. Not super important. I wasn't gonna do it before no, I didn't. Fuck. It's still in order. I just don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so I do this isolated front raise. Lean into the pad here, kind of starting in front by the thighs, slightly out as we come up. So this exercise, I talk about it all the time on most shoulder stuff, but you really, really want to think like you're pushing forward, right? Like you're reaching out, not up. So think this way, not this way. One more little rest. I'll do our last set. We'll be done. So yeah, you can see like I'm still catching my breath. You know what I'm saying? I'm still sweating. Like I'm still working. You know what I'm saying? Like don't think that a deload week is just like a slack off, don't do work, easy fucking week. It's not. Like you're still arguably have to be more focused, right? More disciplined to not overdo it and really focus on like the nuances and the fundamentals, all that type of shit, right? Like you still need to be in the game. You still need to do work. You're still moving weight that your body has to put effort into, you know. You're just not stressing it, right? So don't think you're not working, think you're not stressing is a better way to kind of approach it mentally. All right. Last set. So this one, a little thought that really helps a lot is really think about the bend in your elbow, right? Really keep those elbows soft and flexible. Don't try to pull with these straight arms and isolate the rear delt. Really think, let that elbow bend and let it come back. And that's actually going to get more isolation into that rear delt. That's probably good there. So like I have an okay pump. Good pump might be going a little bit far, but I have like an okay pump. Like it feels good. I mean, my shoulders aren't like, they're not swelling up crazy. They're not, they don't feel like they're gonna burst. They don't have that just rushing blood feeling, but I mean, they feel tight. There's blood in there. I kind of got the tingly feeling from the, stretching out, getting the blood in there. So like I still got a good pump, even though I'm not, pushing stuff crazy. You can see the separation and everything. So they're round, they're full. It's still a good workout. All right, last one. All right, put these back. That's it for our shoulders for a deload week. So I hope this kind of helped you guys see what a deload week actually looks like. Like I said, I'm going to include these, every time I come across it. So this is deload week. Next week will be a hard training week, and then legs will be the next in my film rotation. So we'll do legs, arms. Well, I would work out to doing shoulders next time. So we'll figure it out. But next time I hit a deload, we'll hit like another muscle group. We'll do maybe chest and back or arms, potentially legs, whichever. We'll get to all of them eventually. But I want to take you guys through, like I said, what these deload weeks look like, because they don't get very much attention because it's not glamorous. You know what I'm saying? And because they don't get enough attention, people don't know how to actually do it properly. So I like to kind of show you guys what it looks like, what deload training actually is like, in reality, and kind of talk about why it's important so you have a good understanding of it. If there's anything that I missed, if you have questions about anything that I talked about today, definitely let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.